How is everyone doing today? Let's talk about AAA's Noche de los Grandes, a 2-week TV special. And this past Saturday, May 30th, was the first installment. It was a 4-match card, with the main event being the mask versus mask match between the El Grande Americanos. And I don't much care for the superstar arrivals, but I loved seeing how much heat Chad Gable was getting as he arrived to the arena, and then the national support that Ludwig Kaiser was getting as he arrived to the arena. The first match on this card was Laredo Kid defending the AAA World Cruiserweight Championship against Rey Fenix. And of course, in their previous match, Laredo Kid shafted Rey Fenix. So I'm guessing Rey felt a bit sour about that, because here the bell rang and Rey Fenix went in with a hot stream of offense on Laredo Kid. He had the upper hand for a while, and then Laredo Kid caught Rey Fenix in a powerbomb to gain control of the match. A little bit later on, we see Laredo Kid going to those, underhanded ways. He undoes the turnbuckle and he hides the string in his trousers. I was thinking, is he going to use that? But he didn't use it, so I'm guessing he was just hiding it from the ref. We also see Laredo Kid get Rey Fenix into a cloverleaf submission hold in the center of the ring. And then later on, or shortly after, once Rey Fenix breaks out of that hold, he goes for Laredo Kid against the turnbuckle, but Laredo Kid dodges and Rey Fenix ends up between the second and top rope. And Laredo Kid goes and sits on the top of the turnbuckle and applies the cloverleaf again whilst Rey Fenix is in between the ropes. That was quite an interesting thing to see. And Laredo Kid continues to dominate the match until Rey Fenix catches him with a bunch of successive clotheslines. And then Rey Fenix did a crazy flip out of a tornado DDT from Laredo Kid. The ref was looking when Rey Fenix blocked a low blow from Laredo Kid. I was like, so what? Was he going to get himself disqualified to retain? Because the ref was looking. He wasn't distracted. I even rewound to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. Laredo Kid gets the upper hand again. He goes to the top rope. And of course, a couple weeks back, he was telling Rey Fenix that he's jealous because Penta has a championship and Rey doesn't. So he's taunting Rey Fenix in this match with the Cielo Miedo. Rey gets the upper hand again, and I'm guessing he was tired of being taunted and, cheated. So he looks to use the exposed turnbuckle himself. The ref blocks it, and then Laredo Kid hit a low blow. He goes for the frog splash, but unlike the last time where he beat Rey Fenix with that combination, Rey Fenix kicked out this time. And Rey sent Laredo Kid into the exposed turnbuckle. Rey Fenix landed a second Mexican muscle buster for the win, because earlier Laredo Kid had kicked out of one. And yeah, that second Mexican muscle buster got the job done. Rey Fenix pinned Laredo Kid 1, 2, 3, ending Laredo Kid's 539-day reign as the AAA World Cruiserweight Champion. So that makes Rey Fenix not only the new, but also the 2-time AAA World Cruiserweight Champion. And I predicted that he was going to win this one. And I'm really, really happy to see Rey Fenix carrying some gold. What I'm hoping is that we actually get to see him with the championship on SmackDown, like WWE TV, but I guess we'll have to see if we do or not. Next up on the card, we had Dr. Wagner III defending the AAA Latin American Championship against Vikingo. And clearly, the faces were not taking any ish today. They were on smoke, because just like Rey Fenix, right out the gate at the bell, Wagner came straight for Vikingo. He had the upper hand for a short while until they ended up outside the ring, and then Vikingo turned it around when he sent Wagner into the steel steps. And then he follows up with a vicious double foot stomp from the top rope to Wagner, who's on the floor outside the ring. And then shortly after, he follows up with a running shooting star press off the apron to Wagner, who again is still on the floor outside the ring. And then we've got a bit of the match happening. We finally see Dorian Roldan, as expected, on the apron, distracting the ref, while Omos comes out, runs interference and pulls Wagner down from the top rope. And then Wagner's brother, Galeno, who's been having a little bit of back and forth with Omos, both of them are giants. He comes out to try and level Omos, but he gets taken out and sent over the front barricade. He then re-emerges with a steel chair and takes it to Omos, lays him out. And then Galeno's on the apron because Vikingo went for a cheap shot against him. But Galeno being on the apron distracted the ref. Mini Vikingo appears. Of course, he's had his issues with Vikingo. Mini Vikingo does a drop kick to Vikingo while the ref is, dealing with Galeno. And then Wagner follows up, but Vikingo kicks out. And then we get Omos, who re-emerges. He takes out Galeno. He knocks out Wagner while the ref is distracted. We get a 630 from Vikingo and a brand new champion. This match was shenanigan central. It was quite short. I would say maybe like 10 minutes or so, but shenanigans were happening. They were happening. I predicted that Vikingo was going to win the AAA Latin American Championship because Wagner won it last year and it was kind of like a big moment. So he's had it for a while now. And I thought, yeah, let's get a title on Vikingo. Commentary also mentioned how when Vikingo challenged Dominic Mysterio recently for the AAA Mega Championship, if he lost, he can no longer challenge for the AAA Mega Championship as long as Dominic Mysterio is champion. And of course, he lost. I wasn't aware of that part, but I knew about the hair on Dom's side. If Dom lost, he would have to shave his hair. But regardless, I think it just works to have Vikingo holding some type of gold. He's quite a prominent heel in the promotion right now. So I think that, yeah, him defeating Wagner of all people for the AAA Latin American Championship was a good move in kayfabe. Next match on the card was Psycho Clown and Pagano defending the AAA World Tag Team Championship against War Raiders, Ivar and Eric. And walking into this match, the champs had issues with each other. Now, I was watching AAA Weekly at the start of the year, and I saw when some of the Psycho Circus members were getting taken out. And as a viewer, it kind of looked a bit like one of their own was doing it. I dropped off of AAA, got back into it recently, but it seems that in that time, the same suspicion that I had, Pagano and Psycho Clown have had, and they now have issues with each other, wondering if it's one of them taking out their own. So they walk into this match having issues with each other already. Eric and Ivar are currently undefeated in AAA. So Eric and Ivar try to get the jump on Pagano and Psycho Clown straight away when the bell rings, but they get sent outside. Ivar is able to splash Psycho Clown from the apron to the floor, as in Psycho Clown's on the floor and Ivar comes off the apron with the splash. Psycho Clown is essentially singled out in this match for quite a bit. Ivar and Eric are tagging in and out and just brutalizing Psycho Clown. He needs a tag, like, desperately. He finally gets to tag in Pagano. I will say the tag felt very far from being hot. It did not feel like a hot tag at all. But still, Pagano gets his team back in the game. He lands a tornado DDT off the apron to Ivar on the floor outside the ring. And then we get a Psycho Driver from Psycho Clown. We get a leg drop from Pagano. We get a frog splash from Psycho Clown with a little bit of Eddie homage, but Eric kicked out. Ivar dodged, so now we're getting some inadvertent collision between the team that are already fighting. The War Raiders follow up, pin Psycho Clown 1, 2, 3 to become the AAA World Tag Team Champions. Now, this is the only prediction that I got wrong because I thought that despite the issues, they'd play the storyline with Psycho Clown and Pagano retaining the Tag Team Championship, but no. This is the third championship out of 3 title matches on this card to change hands. And then post-match, Pagano's trying to explain to Psycho Clown that, it was inadvertent. I didn't mean to take you down. Psycho Clown's not having it. So they're going back and forth. Psycho Clown tears off the front layer of his mask. He's got like the scary looking version of the mask now. And then they're arguing. Pagano says, you know what? I'm out. So he dips out. War Raiders, who have been on a tear in AAA, they come back into the ring and they attack Psycho Clown. And Pagano just keeps walking. He turns back, kind of like, will he, won't he? And he just leaves Psycho Clown to be laid out by War Raiders. So I guess next week we'll see what the outcome of that is, or maybe the week after. I'm not sure. They might not focus on that because next week is the second part of Noche de los Grandes. But I'm sure whatever issues Psycho Clown and Pagano had, there's going to be a very small chance they're able to work through it now that he left him for dead, basically. But out of all of the matches on this card, this was the one that I enjoyed the least. But the card overall was pretty strong. But let's get to this main event. The match we have been waiting for. Mask versus Mask. OG El Grande Americano versus Real El Grande Americano. And listen, I have so many notes on this, so please bear with me. First of all, the entrances were fantastic. We had a band wearing black outfits playing out OG El Grande Americano. And then we go backstage, someone knocks on his locker room door, and we see security escorting him through the backstage area towards the ring. Keep in mind that his band were wearing black, and the heat that Gable was getting, it's insane. Some heels wish they could get that kind of heat. And there was somebody in the front row, he tried to rip a mask from their hands, and the kid is there like, yeah, getting in OG El Grande Americals? OG El Grande Americano's face. A band wearing white outfits plays out real El Grande Americano, and they're also wearing real El Grande Americano masks. It goes backstage. We see real El Grande Americano in his locker room, like, ready to go. And I love the paradox of the fact that he needs no security to be escorted to the ring. He's coming out by himself. The love for Kaiser is insane. And just like I said with Gable, some baby faces wish they could get the kind of love that Kaiser is getting in Mexico. OG El Grande Americano goes for a cheap shot right out the gate. So before the bell rings, he takes a guitar and smashes it over real El Grande Americano. And mask versus mask, so it doesn't really matter anyway because it's no DQ. So the bell rings and Chad Gable, sorry, I'm going to probably refer to him as Chad Gable just to keep it easy so we don't get confused between which Americano is which Americano. But Gable basically is hot on the offense after getting that cheap shot with the guitar on Kaiser. And then finally, Kaiser makes that babyface comeback and he gets back into the game. We see Gable successfully rip at Kaiser's mask. I think it was the right side that he ripped. So we see like a portion of Kaiser's face. And then Kaiser's able to kind of get his get back by sending Gable through a table that was set up at ringside. And then Gable takes a fragment of that table and bashes Kaiser with it and sends him into the timekeeper's area, and then follows up by dashing the office chair, like the desk chair, at Kaiser twice. Hey! So Kaiser's in a bad way, and he reemerges from near like the timekeeper's area, the announce table, bleeding from the eye or above the eye. And Gable is targeting the cuts with punches, trying to open up the wound even more. And then he lands an avalanche belly to back suplex on Kaiser. So from the top rope, belly to back, boom, sends Kaiser to the mat. And then we've got Gable dominating this match, but Kaiser gets fired up with the help from the crowd. Kaiser starts ripping at Gable's mask and he rips it open on Gable's left side. And then he busts Gable open the same way that Gable did to him. And I quite liked the symmetry of having Kaiser's mask ripped on the right side eye and Gable's mask ripped on the left side eye. It kind of mirrored what they were showing us in that animated vignette as well. I really quite liked that. And they both had, a wound above the eye. Kaiser covers Gable at one point, but then the Creed brothers appear masked up and they pull Kaiser off of the pin cover and they put Kaiser through the announce table twice. The first time the announce table didn't break, the second time it did. And then we get a headbutt, a flying headbutt from Gable to Kaiser, who still is able to kick out. And then we see Ryo and Bravo appear to level the Creed brothers and they start fighting up towards the stage. And Bravo, Bait, lands a crossbody from the stands onto the Creed brothers. So all of them are kind of out of proceedings now. And then Gable targets a blind comedian in the front row. I think it's one of the people that he had kind of tormented in the build up to this. And that person starts walloping Gable, like I think with his walking stick, like his visual aid stick. And then we see Kaiser come out of the ring, go to the front row and hug that man. So remember I said that the band that played out Chad Gable were wearing black? One of the band members appears in the ring and they bash a guitar over Chad Gable's head, reveal their identity, and it's Pimpinella Escalata, another person that Chad Gable had taunted in the build-up to this match. And of course, we'd heard Kaiser say plenty of times, I'm doing this for Pimpy, I'm doing this for Andrea. Talking of Andrea, a little bit later in the match, when Gable has Kaiser in a bad way, like has him in trouble, Andrea appears in the crowd. And of course, Gable got her fired as part of the build to this match. And he goes up to her in the crowd, like, you know, kind of taunting her. You can't even be here. You're fired. And she pulls out a ticket. Like, I bought a ticket. It was giving Solo Sokoa. So in essence, all the people that Gable had wronged in the build up to this match had shown up. Commentary were referencing it as, you know, the ghosts of Gable's past have all shown up. Kaiser's really fighting from underneath. Gable gets the upper hand again and he takes Kaiser over to the ring post, wraps his leg around the ring post and takes a steel chair to Kaiser's left knee and ankle, and he locks in an ankle lock. Kaiser counters into his own submission. Gable counters back into the ankle lock and wraps his leg around this time. So it looks like, how's Kaiser going to get out of this? Kaiser fights out of it. He fights out of it, but when he goes to try and deliver some offense, his leg buckles from the damage that Chad Gable has done to his left leg. And then he ultimately finds the power to push through that pain. Of course, he's doing it for that comedian. He's doing it for Pimpy. He's doing it for Andrea. He's doing it for the Mexican people. He pushes through. He gathers some speed, going rope to rope, lands a headbutt on Gable, who sells it tremendously, and then pins Gable 1, 2, 3 to win the mask versus mask match. What a match. If I remember correctly, I think I looked it up. These guys went 33 minutes. This match was phenomenal. And what I've told you about here in this brief review is not even all of what's happened in that match, of course. But if you can watch it internationally, it's free on YouTube. Watch this match. Pimpinella, Ryo, Bravo, and Andrea are all in the ring celebrating with the real El Grande Americano. And I love the fact that Kaiser had on white and gold themed gear and Andrea's outfit was white and gold. It was so sweet. So Gable has to remove his mask. His family are in the ring. He says that he put on the mask to go on a quest to learn about Lucha Libre so that he could defeat the luchadors he'd been unable to defeat. Remember that storyline last year on Raw? And it's crazy to think that we went from that storyline to him getting injured to Ludwig Kaiser taking the El Grande Americano spot. I was thinking, this is what you're doing with Ludwig Kaiser? What the heck? To him getting so over in Mexico, and we're here, one of the best matches of the year. I'm not going to say it's the best, but it's definitely in contention for the best match of the year. Gable continues and he says that he learned all about Lucha Libre and the culture, but it pains him to say that ultimately he could not overcome the Mexican spirit. He says that he will always be the original El Grande Americano, but now Kaiser is the only El Grande Americano. And he says that his name is Chad Gable. He was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in America, and he wrestled in the Olympics. And he said that somehow, some way, he'll be back in AAA. And he gave his mask to the real El Grande Americano, the only El Grande Americano now. And there were actually thank you Gable chants from the crowd, which was really, really nice because as much as, he's been getting mad heat from the crowd, that's a great thing. This storyline has been so intense. It's been such a rivalry that it's just been amazing. And now that he's unmasked and it's over, they want to give him, some gratitude for such a great bit of entertainment for them, for us, for everyone. So I quite like that there were thank you Gable chants. And then he leaves the ring with his family, walks up the ramp, and then they played such romantic music for the end of the show. So Kaiser's in the ring, and it just felt like a love story as he celebrated with Andrea. They kissed, and he's there still selling the left knee, which was a really, really nice touch. But the music, I just was like, oh my gosh, I love it. And he hobbles to the top of the ramp. Again, he's selling that knee. So the music is playing, the romantic music is playing, like the lovely, almost telenovela style music is playing, and he's hobbling up, hobbling up, hobbling up, hobbling up to the top of the stage. He holds Chad Gable's mask high in the air, and the show goes off the air. Man, 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 I loved it. I loved it. I think most of us predicted that the real El Grande Americano would win this war, and Mexican spirit, Mexican pride carried him through, and the people he was fighting on behalf of kept him motivated and able to push through the pain in that match. And Chad Gable is unmasked. And who knows what's next for Kaiser? I'm guessing at some point there will be a AAA Mega Championship match. It will be interesting to see if he just remains in this character or if maybe he does what Chad Gable was doing before he was injured. And that is sometimes we see him masked and sometimes we see him unmasked. So maybe we will see Ludwig Kaiser, actual Ludwig Kaiser, back on our screens on Raw, and he remains El Grande in AAA. Maybe we see both characters on Raw. I guess we'll have to find out. But I think something that's in my head is a comment that I saw about someone saying, like, so what happens now? Is Ludwig Kaiser just stuck being El Grande Americano? And again, when it first happened and he replaced Chad Gable, we were like, really? Is this what's going on? But look how far it's come. And yes, we might look at it and say Ludwig Kaiser could be doing something different, could be doing something better, same as Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. But in regards to Kaiser in particular, he's so over with the crowd. There's no way he's not enjoying that. And his girlfriend is in that promotion. He has met Andrea because of this. It feels like he's being absorbed into the Mexican culture. It may be something that from the outside we're like, but he could do something different. But we don't know how he feels about this. He might love what he is doing. In this role, he has now been part of a match that is definitely in contention for match of the year. Last year, the man couldn't even get on the WrestleMania card, barely even a TV match. So if he remains as El Grande Americano for a lot longer, I'm not mad at it as long as he's happy. And I think if you're having fun in Mexico with the people them and your girls there, I'm sure you can't be that mad about what's going on. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, if you haven't watched AAA Noche de los Grandes, the first weekend of that 2-part event, check it out. I'm international in the UK. I watched it free of charge on YouTube Honestly, it was so, so good. That's it for this video. If you liked this video, please like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you don't miss a video. And I will see you in the next one. Ole! Ole!